morning and welcome back. I sincerely hope you have all had a good weekend. And at the start of this week, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of my great passions in life. I have many passions in life. I love music, I love cricket, and another passion I have is horse racing. And I love horse racing. And about this time of year, there's usually a race that takes place a little bit earlier than this, called the Epsom Derby. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Epsom Derby in history, because of course this week it is actually Royal Ascot, and there's a lot of races taking place down at Ascot in Berkshire. But normally at this time of year, the Epsom Derby would have taken place. Now, Epsom Downs is in Surrey, and it is a historical race. And the story I'm going to tell you illustrates the value of honesty, and honesty being the best policy. And the story goes back to 1844, when during the running of the Derby race, a cheat was exposed. And there was a horse running in the race which was owned by a Mr. Goodman, and the horse was called Running Rein. Now, the Epsom Derby is for horses aged 3, and Running Rein entered the Derby, but the favourite was a horse called Orlando, and it was an extremely close race, and it was mighty tight on the line, but Running Rein beat the favourite, and this was a bit of a surprise and a bit of a shock. But there was a gentleman watching that race called Sir George Bentinck, who later became Lord Bentinck. And he was a politician who had a huge interest in racing, and he wasn't terribly happy with the fact that as soon as the race finished, true story this is, Running Rein was whisked off by Mr. Goodman, who, having won the race, was £50,000 richer. And in 1844, £50,000 was a huge amount of money. And Sir George Bentinck noticed that where Running Rein had been standing, there was brown dye on the floor, and he wasn't happy about this. And he carried out some investigations, and lo and behold, he discovered that the horse was in fact another horse, aged 4 and too old to be running in the Derby, called Maccabeus. And Maccabeus was a superb horse, and he had been dyed brown to run in the Derby under a different name and had won. And Bentinck made it his business to expose this fraud, which he did, of course, and Mr. Goodman, as I'm sure you can imagine, got into a huge amount of trouble, and the result of the race was reversed, and Orlando was declared the winner. Now then, sitting at the heart of our school ethos is a policy of being honest. And there you have a clear example of someone who was dishonest and who was caught out for being dishonest. While we are spread far and wide, it is hugely important that the values that lie at the heart of our school, one of them being honesty, we don't forget. We remember what makes us the school we are, all those things, kind and caring, hard working, but also being honest. It is good to be honest. It is right to be honest. It is right to own up if we have made a mistake, got something wrong, not been entirely truthful, because honesty is always the best policy. Have a good week.